I mean, most people are like to hear the streamer's opinion on it. That's actually the thing that really surprised me was how many people just want to hear me talk about the new cards. At the start, I thought this would be a complete waste of time. Like I didn't review the other sets. Like I reviewed Gadgetzan, I believe, just briefly, but the other sets I didn't review because I was like, you know, that's not, you're not playing the game, right? But yeah, most people are quite interested, and this set I think is interesting. All right, so we'll go in the order in which the website gives them. So it's first the Groons, the Cabal, and the Jade Lotus. So why don't we go over it? As always, legendaries don't really matter anything because we're reviewing them for Arena. That being said, I'll quickly give my opinion on whether this card could be good or not. All right, so let's just start, right? Don Han Cho, Battlecry, give a random minion in your hand +5/+5. Obviously, that looks really good. I mean, 7 mana, 5/6. That is kind of acceptable, right? That is not a completely obsolete body. You've got 6 health, 5. It's pretty much, it's pretty much a pit fighter for 2 extra mana. But something else gets +5/+5. So obviously, this is going to be well above the curve for legendaries because the average legendary isn't that great, right? Okay. Next one. 3 mana, 2/4. Give a random minion in your hand +1/+1. Yeah, once again, that looks pretty nice. A 2/4. Once again, I'm tackling this from my references I have right now. It could be that because of how the meta changes, cards become a lot, where you need better stats for that turn. But a 3 mana 2/4 is playable. It's not great, but it's playable. If it goes with a great effect, it's nice. So giving you a minion in your hand +1/+1 is definitely worth it. Now, obviously, this is going to get countered a lot by other people giving their stuff +1/+1, which means that your advantage isn't necessarily an advantage. Right. 2 mana 1/1. Discover a Hunter, Paladin, or Warrior card. So it's pretty much Jeweled Scarab, but you get to pick from 3 different classes. So you get 1 Hunter, 1 Paladin, and 1 Warrior card offered, and they're completely random. I guess the variance on this thing is going to be huge, right? Because it's all mana costs, minion spell, so we can get some insane variance on this card. I think it'll be decent. There should be enough leeway. Legendaries should have a higher rate of appearing in these kind of things as opposed to a draft. In Discover, legendaries are usually 1-to-1 ratio, whereas in the draft they're much rare, much more rare. All right, let's go to the next ones. The Cabal, Mage, Warlock, and Priest. 4 mana, 3/3. Add a random potion to your hand. Now, obviously, we're gonna have to see what the potions are. So quickly scroll down. Usually, any potions here? No. Potions. Where's the potions? Huh. Usually, they're always at the bottom. These kind of cards. Maybe it's at the top now. Where's the potions, guys? On Arena HS, there's an overview. Let me see. Let me have a look at the potions. Kabbalist Chemics potion reference. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. I thought it would be a different kind of potion, but it's actually all the potions that are okay. So it's all the potions that are just in the set. Okay, interesting. Oh man, I had hoped that this Volganic Potion thing wasn't actually a card, that it's a card you have to discover. Fuck my life. I wanna talk to the guy on the balance team who thought it's a good idea to give mages a demon red. It's like, you know what? Sometimes they get rushed down. Let's give them a demon red. Whatever. That's for when we get there. All right. +3 attack. Yeah, sure. I mean, we don't go over all the potions right now, but I guess this is pretty decent then, right? 4 mana 3/3. It's a la Tomb Spider. It's not something you want to play. It's not something you're going to want to play on curve, but it can give you some great swing cards. Fellfire Potion or Dragonfire Potion, for instance, could give you a semi-board wipe, if not a full board wipe. So yeah, that'll be quite interesting. All right, on to the next one. Legendary here, 4 mana 3/3. If your deck contains no duplicates, create a custom spell. Now, obviously, I think I saw this being played on the stream, where there's like 5 damage to something, freeze 2 minions. So once again, not too relevant. It's Arena, so I'm not even going to go to the trouble to look at the cards, because it's a legendary. Cabal Courier, 3 mana 2/2. Discover a Mage, Priest, or Warlock card. So the equivalent of the Grimy Goons guy, the 3 mana 2/2. Yeah, once again, there's going to be huge variance on these things. A 3 mana 2/2 I probably like a little less than a 2 mana 1/1. Simply because 3 mana cards are a little harder to fit in, right? Sometimes you can like squeeze in a Jeweled Scarab quite nicely. This has the stats of a Dancing Master, right? But once again, it's a discover card. Discover mechanisms usually are fine. So I think the card once again will be fine, but I think I'd rather have the 2 mana 1/1 body than the 3 mana 2/2. Jade Lotus. Jade Lotus cards are usable by Druid, Rogues, and Shamans. Alright, start off with the legendary. 6 mana 5/3. Battlecry and Death Rattle summon a Jade Golem. So I had a quick peek at the Jade Golem mechanic, because obviously it was referenced a lot. So for those of you who don't know yet, a Jade Golem starts as a 1 mana 1/1. So let's say you've not played any other Jade Golem cards, and you play Aya Blackpaw, the Battlecry will summon a 1/1. Then, if she dies, it'll summon a 2/2. So for every Jade Golem you have created in the game, your next one will be +1/+1 stronger. So if you've summoned 2, your second one will be a 2/2, your third one a 3/3, like pretty straightforward. I'm not quite sure how insane that will be. Obviously, it's going to be a synergistic thing. You're going to want to have lots of Jade Golem cards if you're going down that route to make sure there's some serious payout at the end of the road. But yeah, I mean, that seems to be pretty scary. Like, at least from an arena point of view, because just Battlecry, summon a 5/5. After a while, that's gonna be some heavy shit. Especially looking at the meta slowing down a little bit, these things are probably gonna be able to be applied. So yeah, scary. I'm very happy it's not in the mage department, because at least now if a mage slows the game down against you, you can actually be like, yeah, sure, slow the game down. Here, have a 7/7 for free. Anyways, we'll move on. It's a legendary, but it's interesting to talk about the mechanic, because the mechanic is not unique to the legendary. All right, so Locust Agents, 5 mana 5/3. The first time I saw this card, I was like, man, that's shit. And I was like, wait, Conjure is a 5 mana 6/3. Oh, okay. Well, it's just this automatic conditioning to like, 5 mana 5/3 is pretty bad. But discovering a card on top of it is obviously quite nice. Now, Conjure is still better, I feel, because it's 1 extra damage, and it'll find you a mage spell. And mage spells are usually amazing, so if you can choose from 3 different mage spells, it's quite reliable to get you something nice. Once again, I feel like there's going to be a huge range of variance on these discovers, because they're not limited to mana cost, like a Jeweled Scarab. They're not limited to a spell or a minion, and it's 3 different classes. So huge variance on these discovers, I would say, which is kind of their own little form of RNG. I'd much rather have this kind of RNG than a Firelands Portal, obviously. this doesn't summon it straight away, and it actually requires a little bit of skill knowing which card will be better for your deck. All right. Next up is the common for the Jade guys. 4 mana, 2/3 Battlecry, summon a Jade Golem. Looking at it, it seems underwhelming, but then obviously it is a common, so I feel like if they would make a really well-statted Jade Golem summoner, it'd be insane. So I think that's already a good catch from the Blizzard guys. Not making this a 4 mana, 4 mana 3/4, it's reasonable, and just play 7 of them. It's a thing where I have to be careful with it. So once again, it's gonna depend on how many of these Jade Golem mechanics you're going to be getting in your deck, how good these guys will be. The art is kind of cute though. All right, on to the classes. Start off with some Druid. Once again, guys, the legendaries aren't that important, so I'm not even going to spend too much time talking about them. Forgotten King, yeah, I mean, looks decent. Obviously, in Arena, you're not going to have a huge hand, so it's like, I can play a 7/7 for free. Like, yeah, that's cool, but I mean, turn 10, how many cards are you going to be holding in your hand? Supposing Constructed, it's a different story with how much you can ramp and stuff. But in Arena, once again, I don't think this card is that crazy. It's obviously going to be fine, right? Gaining 10 life for a 10 mana 7/7, that's cool. But once again, more a constructed thing. All right, Lunar Visions. Draw 2 cards. Minions drawn cost 2 less. Right, so essentially it's an Arcane Intellect, but it has an Innervate attached to it on your minion if you draw a minion. Yeah, once again, a little bit more of a tricky card to evaluate. It's pretty much Farsight ×2, but you only get 2 reduction, and you need to hit a minion if you draw a spell. It's kind of weird. I'm definitely going to be drafting one of these when they come out, just because it's one of those cards where you're going to have to feel just how good it is. Obviously in a very minion-dense deck, where you have a lot of early games, so you're going to be running out of cards. A card like this should be fine. I don't think it's going to be batshit broken. I also don't think it's going to be terrible. You're probably going to want it in a deck where you're going to be floating mana anyway, and this card is then it's going to be better the more likely it is you run out of cards. Next up, Pilfered Power. Gain an empty mana crystal for each friendly minion. I mean, I think once again more of a constructed combo thing. So turn 2, Balefin. Let's say your 1-drop sticks around. Let's say miraculously everything sticks around. Turn 3, you can gain 3 empty mana crystals. Yeah, it can be crazy, but once again, we're talking Arena here, so I don't think the card is going to be that crazy in Arena. I think it's once again more something for Constructed where they want to get some silly combos out. All right. Vermin Sensei. Battlecry, give a friendly beast +2/+2. 5 mana 4/5. So a Yeti for 5, but you give a beast +2/+2. So where do we see this kind of mechanic? We have Clockwork Knight, which is a 5 mana 5/5, gives a mech +1/+1. If Clockwork Knight hits, it's usually well worth it. So when Vermin Sensei hits, I would say it's pretty darn decent. So once again, in a deck that has sufficient beasts, that should be a pretty nice card. Obviously, in a deck with not enough beasts, you're paying 5 mana for a Yeti, which is not unthinkably bad, but not what you want. But yeah, with enough beasts, it should be pretty nice. Celestial Dreamer. Battlecry. If a friendly minion has 5 or more attack, gain +2/+2. So if you play this thing, let's say on your turn 6 and your 5-drop stuck around, you've played a 3 mana 5/5. Yeah, it's definitely a card that you're gonna want to be playing around a little bit. It's kind of a la like Menagerie Warden, where you're playing against Druid and you're like, huh, he's got a beast, I probably want to kill it. But now you're going to want to be killing 5 damage minions. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Hound Master is a good comparison for Vermin Sensei. Yeah, Hound Master is perfectly cool. Now obviously Hound Master hits a turn earlier, and it's a class that, you know, is a bit more geared towards those very cheap beasts, although Druid has caught up a lot. Although I feel Druid's still, you know, more about the big beasts. But, you know, you've got some little guys. Anyways, once again, Vermin Sensei okay in a beast deck. Yeah, this card, once again, should be fine. I think it's pretty conditional. It's a pretty awkward card if you don't have a 5 power minion. If you're a deck that's expected to be on the board, this should be good. Should be nice to accelerate your advantage, especially against the mage, right? If you started out strong, you can play this into Flame Strike with something else, and suddenly you have a spread and you have something that survives Flame Strike, which is quite nice. Jade Idol, 1 mana, choose one. Summon a Jade Golem, or shuffle 3 copies of this card into your deck. Oh wow, okay. So how good this card is going to depend on how many Jade Golem mechanics Druid has in general. I see a couple here, so that'll be fun. Yeah, pretty interesting mechanic. Once it's hard for me to say too much about these things. I'm really gonna have to feel it once they get into play, just how cool this is. But yeah, there is potential. So it's a 1 mana 1/1, and it gets your Jade Golem started. Otherwise, it's a 1 mana 2/2, 1 mana 3/3. That looks quite nice. Jade Behemoth, 6 mana 3/6 taunt, Battlecry, summon a Jade Golem. Alright, so the fact that this is common makes it a lot more interesting, this mechanic. Because a 6 mana 3/6 is bad, but it's a Fen Creeper, and Fen Creeper, I don't like Fen Creeper, but it's kind of an acceptable card, and it summons a 1/1 at worst, which makes it reasonable already, right? So yeah, this is going to be I'm definitely gonna have to try a Jade Golem theme deck, especially if there's a bonus. That's also gonna depend a lot, right? If they remake Arena with the bonus. If there's a bonus on cards, then yeah, this can be rather silly. Jade Blossoms, summon a Jade Golem, gain an empty mana crystal. Oh wow. So 3 mana 1/1, Wild Growth. I mean, for Arena, probably not that great. Once again, it's going to depend on how many of these Jade Golem mechanics you have in your deck. If you've already drafted quite a few, this is probably perfectly fine, because it's a 3 mana, summon a 4/4 or something, right? And you get to gain an empty mana crystal. So yeah, this should be cool. Alright, Mark of the Lotus. Give your minions +1/+1. Wow, that's fun. I'll probably be drafting, like, oh my god. I can see Druid going the way I like playing it. I can really see Druid becoming this spread heavy. Oh my god, especially with the Jade Golem things. Holy shit. I think this is gonna be quite sick. Holy shit. Like, you can create this, like, spread Druid. Savage Roar is going to get a lot better. Reach in general is going to get better. Roots going to be quite nice with this as well. So yeah, nice. Alright, so we're going to have this more spread aggro-y Druid, this expansion normally. Nice. Alright, Hunter, yes, good class. Good class is on the way. Alright, so once again, Out Legendary, not that important. After this attacks a minion, it also hits the enemy hero. Nice. Well, I mean, it's a 5 mana 3/7. That's playable. It's not insanely statted, but it's also not bad. So you're gonna want to pick it a fair amount of the time when it's offered. But obviously, you're still gonna want the insane legendaries over this. Right. Piranha Launcher seems a little slow, right? 5 mana 2/4. 5 mana to deal 2 damage. You're probably not even going to get a hero power in there as well. Probably has its use in a deck that's not so focused on killing the opponent and is more focused on early board control, and then, transitions into something where you can get a lot of value with this thing, but it should probably belong in fairly niche decks. Rat Pack, 3 mana 2/2, Death Rattle, summon the number of 1/1 rats equal to this minion's attack. So on the surface, it's kind of a bad Haunted Creeper, but obviously there's all these effects that buff a minion's attack. We see the Trog Beast Rager buffing, the Smuggler's Crate buffs, the Shaky Zip Gunner buffs, and the Hidden Cache buffs. So depending on the amount of tools you have in your deck to pump this guy's damage, it should be nasty. Does it apply to a Shattered Sun Cleric? I think so, right? So if you Shattered Sun Cleric this, you get 3 rats. All right. The Crack Pack. Yeah, so Rat Pack, well, once again, face value, it doesn't look that great, but in this particular expansion, it should be nice. Should be quite nice. Okay, Dispatch Kodo, 4 mana 2/4, Battle Cry, deal damage equal to this minion's attack. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. So Keeper of the Grove was really good. Now it could silence, sure, but this is a beast. It's in Hunter, where you naturally don't have a ping, and it scales with all the give your shit more damage. That should probably be sweet, right? I mean, even if you can buff this thing +1/+1, you deal 3 damage to something. That's a la Fire Elemental, right? So yeah, that's really fucking nice. Dare I say almost overpowered. I can't obviously say that because it's Hunter. Right? Nothing's overpowered if it's Hunter. But wow, the more I look at this card, the more in this particular theme, this could get crazy, right? I'm assuming it works the way it works, right? Deal damage equal to this minion's attack. If this thing comes down as a 4/6, it should deal 4 damage, right? If that's the way how it works, I think it's going to be really good. If not, I think it's just good. All right. Trog Beast Rager. 2 mana 3/2. Battle Cry, give a random beast in your hand +1/+1. Seems really good, right? I mean, it's a 2-drop. It's adequately statted as a 2-drop. And it's upside. What more do we want as a Hunter? An adequately statted 2-drop with upside. Nice. All right. Hidden Cache. Secret. After your opponent plays a minion, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. Because of the synergies there are, sure. But overall, I don't think that great. Just because you have to, either miss your 2-drop or do it in the later game where you kind of want to be playing your minions anyway. So going out on a limb here and saying Arena, probably not that great, but should definitely be pickable, right? I'm just saying that you'd rather want the minions that give your dudes +2/+2. I mean, it's just weird, right? This is 2 mana, give your guy +2/+2. This is 3 mana 3/3, give your guy +2/+2. Can we see the difference here? You pay 2 mana here and you don't get a body. You pay 3 mana here and you get a 3/3 body for it. So, not really my kind of thing. Probably, for the constructed theme deck where they want to build like a 12/12 Rat Pack, sure, go for it. In Arena, probably not that great. This guy, however, Shaky Zip Gunner, holy shit, 3 mana 3/3 Death Rattle, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. Seeing as we just saw some huge synergy with both Rat Pack and Dispatch Kodo, should be quite the card. Obviously, just giving your 4-drop +2/+2, that's pretty fucking good as well. So we will take it. All right, Alley Cat, 1 mana. Hey, it's an Alley Cat. 1 mana 1/1, Battle Cry, summon a 1/1 cat. So Living Roots with upside because it can get buffed, right? Now it doesn't buff the cat it summons, I assume. Shouldn't work like that. But yeah, it's Living Roots. You can't ping 2 damage, obviously, but it's a beast. It's a 1-drop. I'll take it. I'll definitely take it. You can trade into his 2/1, get ahead on the board, so I think it's all good. All right, Smuggler's Crate. Give a random beast in your hand +2/+2. Pretty much the Hidden Cache, but 1 mana less, and target it at beasts, so you don't accidentally miss on your Kodo or your Rat Pack. Yeah, depending on the deck you're running, this should be fine. If you have card draw, if you have things that keep you going, it should be okay. In a deck that is like super aggro, this might not be worth a card. Just saying. It might still be good, right? But it should still be fine. Isn't this just a beast version of Possessed Villager? No, Possessed Villager doesn't die to AoE completely. So I think Possessed Villager is still a little bit better. But yeah, obviously, if you're comparing things to Possessed Villager, you're in the you're in the realm of good cards. So nice. All right, overall, I'm pretty hopeful for Hunter this expansion. It's gonna be different. It's definitely gonna be different, but looks like we have a theme, and we're gonna go with it, right? Blizzard is really pushing this buff stuff in your hand and then destroy people theme. So we'll see if we can make that work. All right, it's everybody's favorite class. Let's go with Mage. All right, the Legendary. Oh, see, even my cursor doesn't want to do Mage. All right, Ink Master Solia. Let me get some more water before we start this one. Battle Cry. If your deck has no duplicates, the next spell you cast this turn costs 0. All right. So, Flame Strike and a 5/5. I mean, it's Arena, it's a Legendary. I'm really not going to go that in depth. If your deck doesn't have duplicates, yeah, this thing will be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. If you have like if you have Tome, right? 7 mana 5/5, draw 3 Mage cards. If you have Flame Strike, if you have Firelands Portal, God forbid this thing with Firelands Portal. But it's a Legendary, so I'm really not going to whine too much. It doesn't matter for Arena. Greater Arcane Missiles. Shoot 3 missiles at random enemies that deal 3 damage each. So that's pretty much a Pyroblast if there's no minions on board. Now obviously minions are usually going to be on board, so I'm not going to say that it's pretty much a 7 mana Pyroblast. But yeah, this card, I don't know. It seems good from what I can see here. It seems good because 3 damage should be enough to be significant. You might even have the hero power to remove a 1/1, so it's not in the way. BS1332, thanks so much for subbing. Welcome to the stream. All right, so yeah, once again, Greater Arcane Missiles is something I'm gonna have to feel. I'm going to have to see how it performs, just how annoying it is or how unreliable it is. Well, I'm gonna have to see. I'm gonna have to feel it out. See, you're also going to see how Mage plays this expansion, right? All right. Manic Soulcaster, Battlecry. Choose a friendly minion. Shuffle a copy into your deck. All right. I mean, it's a spider tank. It's an epic once again, so it doesn't matter damage for Arena. But it's a spider tank. They're giving Mage a spider tank, and it doesn't have the downside of the Spell Slinger. So yeah, it's not a common, thankfully, but that's quite nice. Spell Power gives it +3 damage instead of 1. Ooh, I did not know that. That's pretty nasty. That's pretty darn nasty. All right, so with Spell Power, this thing is obviously pretty sick. Okay, but yeah, Manic Soulcaster seems pretty fucking good. 3 mana, 3/4. Get to shuffle a minion in your deck. Which is not always an upside. You don't always want to shuffle a 2-drop or whatever back in your deck. But, you know, the stats are great, so this thing should be good. Cabal Crystal Runner, 6 mana 5/5, costs 2 less for each secret you've played this game. Alright, so you've played 1 secret, this thing is now a 4 mana 5/5. But in order to come down as a 4 mana 5/5, you have to have played the secret before turn 4. Yeah, I mean, seems playable. I don't think it's that crazy in Arena, but yeah, seems definitely playable if you have secrets, that is. All right, Volcanic Potion. This one I'm a little bit upset about. I try not to be. I try to just be as objective as possible. But I don't quite see how you can justify giving Mage pretty much Consecration for 3 mana. I know it says all minions, but let's be honest. You know, as a Mage, you're usually defending anyway. So whether you hit your own board or is not even that relevant. You can trade off your guys first. It's just a little bit disappointed. A little bit disappointed with developers. I mean, it's probably targeted for constructed, like usual. But there is really no need for this. Thank God it's a rare and not a common, but still, it's, you know, Babbling Book was a rare. You saw a decent amount of Babbling Book, right? So, meh. All right, well, not much to be said. You're gonna have to play around this thing a fair bit if there's a bonus. So you're gonna have to be careful playing around Consecration. All right, next up, Potion of Polymorph. 3 mana. Secret. After your opponent plays a minion, transform it into a sheep. Even more shit to play around. Alright, so the good thing is that the way how you play around this is the way how you play around Mirror Entity, right? You play a shitty minion. So in a way, this shouldn't change too much, right? In a way, it shouldn't change too much. It is relevant because it doesn't go well with Mana Worm, Sorcerer's Apprentice, or Flame Waker. Wait, what do you mean Camel Poker? Try to include where it is relevant. Relevant for what? Kill Command Activator. Yes. All right, next one. Cryomancer. 5 mana 5/5 Battlecry. Gain +2/2 if an enemy is frozen. Needlessly frustrating, I think. Just because 5 mana 5/5s are playable, and they're gonna give you a 5 mana 7/7 if one of your things is frozen. It's gonna make Water Elemental even better. God damn, like, ugh, like, can you imagine on turn 4, like, being afraid to kill a Water Elemental? It's like, oh man, if I don't sap this thing, you know, I don't know why you wouldn't sap a Water Element, but whatever. If you, you get kind of fucked. Camel Poker says you can't synergize with your own minions. Oh, but I mean, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Flame Waker, and Mana Worm, that's constructed talk, Camel Poker. Arena Mages, sit back, AoE your shit, and then play good cards. That's how Arena Mage works. If you're talking about Volcanic Potion being bad, then you're probably playing the wrong kind of mage. The mage that gets the scary, consistent results is Defensive Mage. And it will become even more difficult to crack Defensive Mage because of Volcanic Potion. So anyways. So yeah, Cryomancer is a common, so it's going to have a bonus on it, which is quite, I mean, every card has a bonus on it if they use the bonus, but it's a common, right? So you're going to have to play around this thing, which means, you know, Water Elemental is so insane right now. It's like, oh, 5 mana 7/7, because I couldn't kill a fucking Water Elemental without getting my shit frozen. Like, even if you kill it with trading, your minion's frozen, right? So, yeah. Needlessly frustrating, I think. I don't think Mage should have gotten that. Now, obviously, I'm biased against all Mage cards, right? Because I feel like they don't quite need too much of a buff. And they give them Consecration and a 5 mana 7/7. Anyways, moving on. Cabal Lackey. 1 mana 2/1. The next secret you play this turn costs 0. So it's a Kirin Tor Mage, but a 1 mana 2/1. I'm always a little bit annoyed when they give mages 1-drops because I feel like the class doesn't need them. That's not how mage is supposed to be played. But once again, they're balancing things with the focus on constructed. So sure, I get it. But in Arena, mages don't need decent 1-drops. Now, I don't think this card is too big of a thing. It's Kirin Tor Mage. Kirin Tor Mage is insane when it goes off. It's, you know, okay when it doesn't. Same with this thing. It's probably insane when it goes off, and it's okay if it's not. Right, Freezing Potion, freeze an enemy. So they've given them a free spare part which you can draft, which is fine. I mean, it costs 0, so 0 for a freeze is pretty decent. I think if your deck can back it up in terms of value, like if you have Cryomancers, if you have enough card draw, if your deck is slow enough, Freezing Potion should be fine. Alternatively, if your deck is aggressive enough, Freezing Potion might also be fine. For mid-rangey decks, I don't see Freezing Potion being that great. I missed the start, but hi stream. Hey Epiphany. We're just talking about how Mage got a Demon Wrath and a 5 mana 7/7 if there's a Water Elemental, which you can't kill without combat. Alright, moving on. Paladongers. Here we go. For people say Cabal Lackey is crap, it's a 1 mana 2/1. 1 mana 2/1s by definition are not crap because they are 1 mana 2/1s. Anything that's acceptable for the curve is not crap. If it's a a 1 mana 1/2. I know Epiphany loves those. A 1 mana 1/2 or a 1 mana 1/1 with the effect, it's crap. But this is something you can play on turn 1. And sometimes it'll play you a Mirror Entity, which gives you their 2-drop, which just is a 1 mana, give you a 2-drop, which is pretty darn sick, right? Anyways, moving along. Paladin, Wicker Flame, Burn, Bristle. Divine Shield, Taunt. Damage dealt by this minion also heals your hero. So mini bot for 3 with Taunt. In Arena, probably not too relevant. Once again, it's a legendary. Yeah, it's a Silent Knight with Taunt, which is useful. Definitely useful. But you can remove the bubble. Silent Knight is stealth. You can buff Silent Knight a little bit better. Anyways, it's a legendary. We're not going to waste too much time on it. Small Time Recruits. Draw 3 1-cost minions from your deck. Alright, so I have a look at the 1-cost minions first. Mean Street Marshal. This minion has 2 attacks, draw a card. Alright. Graham Skill Chum. Give a random Murloc in your hand plus 1. And that's all the minions, right? Okay. I don't think it's that great. I think it's more for a constructed combo theme. I don't think it's that great in Arena because it's card draw, which nets you a bunch of weenies, and it's 3 mana. But you draw 3, but it's weenies. So I guess you could dilute your deck for your value, but I don't know. I don't think it's that amazing. Then again, if you have synergy for the Marshal, but then again, Marshal's an epic. All right. Next one, the Marshal here. Death Rattle. If this minion has 2 or more attack, draw a card. It's a 1 mana 1/2. Probably pretty darn decent, right? Combined with the Graham Street Outfitter and all the cards in general that buff things in your hand, you're usually going to be looking at a 2/3 that draws you a card when it dies. Yeah, this card should be quite nice in the next expansion. Grime Street Protector, 7 mana 6/6. Taunt, Battle Cry, give adjacent minions Divine Shield. Because it was not annoying enough to give Paladin a minion. Alright, so now it's going to be extremely important that you kill shit before this guy comes down. Luckily, whenever you were beating a Paladin anyway, you didn't have things on his board. And when you were losing, you probably weren't, going to win if he hadn't had this guy. So Protector seems really strong. I think the card is really strong. But usually if your Paladin opponent has 2 minions on the board in that moment, you're probably already going to lose. I think this card is going to be very good for Paladin versus Mage. Because Paladin versus Mage, the Paladin can run out of steam. And you can play this guy into Flame Strike, say, you can't portal this, you can't Flame Strike it, and all my other shit is immune to AoE. Your move. So in a way, I kind of like it because it makes life for mages a little bit more difficult. Other classes should probably have pushed Paladin off the board or probably would have lost anyway. That's not me saying that the card is bad by any means. I think the card's very strong, but it's still going to flip games, right? Don't get me wrong. This card is still going to win games where you would have lost otherwise. But in a lot of the cases, if you're already dominant on the board, you probably would have won that game anyway, because that's kind of how Paladin rolls, right? But yeah, sometimes you're going to run out of steam, and then this card is perfect. Sometimes the battle is close enough, and then this card is very strong. So yeah. Anyways. Moving on to the next one. Grime Street Enforcer. At the end of your turn, give all minions in your hand +1/+1. So it's not the start, it's the end. So it's Thorisan-like, but you pay 5 mana for a 4/4. Yeah, should be good. I don't think this card is bad. I think with all the stuff we have that buffs everything, we're going to want to have lots of minions in our hand anyways. So then this card should complement that nicely. 1 mana Getaway Kodo Secret. When a friendly minion dies, return it to your hand. All right. I think in general this card wouldn't be that nice, but with all the buff shit in your hand mechanics, it's probably fine. You can get a decently sized minion back to your hands for 1 mana, and then you can buff it up again. Even Grime Street Outfitter, if you kill it, it goes back to your hand. Yeah, it's gonna be reasonable, I suppose. It's gonna depend on your deck, right? You're gonna want to bring back something meaningful. It's gonna make it awkward when there's a secret up to kill Grime Street Outfitter, which brings us to a more, more defining card of the set. I feel is 2 mana 1/1 Battlecry. Give all minions in your hand +1/+1. Seems pretty decent. Now, obviously, playing a 2 mana 1/1 on turn 2 is gonna get you a little bit behind. But lucky enough, if you play it, then your 3-drop contests there 2 and probably 3-drop quite nicely. And then all the cards that were in your hand have now benefited from that buff. So yeah, I think this card is going to be quite nice. And it should really define the expansion for Paladins. Because it's a common, it's how you can, it's how you can theme the deck, right? You're probably going to want to have a heavy spread, some card draw, maybe even small time recruits becomes decent because of, this whole theme. Smuggler's Run says give all minions in your hand +1/+1. Kind of like the crate for Hunter, but for the spread. The crate is more for an immediate aggressive approach. The Smuggler's Run is more of a long-term strategy. So immediately what I feel the Paladin meta is going to be is just card draw, low curve, and then the AoE buff effects. And just overwhelm you with just sheer stats on stuff that shouldn't have the stats. Let's just imagine that you can play 2 AoE buff effects. Your Yeti is now close to a Bull of Fist Ogre, right? It's pretty much a Bull of Fist Ogre. So your Yeti is now a Bull of Fist Ogre. That's pretty nuts. Your 5/5 is now a War Golem. Your River Croc is now a Yeti. So yeah, that seems pretty nice. Yeah, that's going to be the theme for Paladin normally. Once again, if the bonus applies. I have to say that with everything. Grimescale Chum says Battlecry, give a random Murloc in your hand +1/+1. It's a 1 mana 2/1. It's not too fancy, but with all the AoE buffing going around, I can see this card being okay. And obviously, if you have a Murloc in your hand, that's pretty nice. But this card should be playable just because of the whole theme of Paladin. Moving on to Priest. Aha. This is probably the most interesting one. And I think Blizzard has, obviously I criticized them a little bit for, giving Mage the AoE and the freeze card, but I think in general, they've done an excellent job at making this expansion really interesting, especially for Arena. Let me move the overlay a little bit. Move the card a little bit for the overlay. Because we got the Priest Legendary going on here. So, we've seen Hunter getting a nice revamp. We've seen, we got a sub. Let me have a look. Dare White, thanks so much for subbing. Welcome. So anyways, lots of interesting things, lots of classes getting a revamp in the theme. So, Priest, Raza the Chained, Battlecry. If your deck has no duplicates, your hero power costs 0 this game. Okay, that's kind of funky. Yeah, holy shit. Yeah, that seems really good. Okay, I don't think there's anything else we need to say about that. It's a legendary, so once again, doesn't really apply for Arena, but seems like quite the guy. All right, Dragonfire Potion, 6 mana, deal 5 damage to all minions except dragons. Pretty much a light bomb. Seems good. In some cases better than a light bomb if you have a dragon on your board. Some cases worse than a light bomb if they have a dragon on their board. But overall, a semi-reliable board clear for Priests. Something you're going to have to be playing around. Something you have to be respecting when you're really far ahead, right? because we used to say like, oh, you know, it's not that likely they're gonna have light bomb, but now they can have a, excuse me, now they can have a light bomb and potentially a potion, because this potion is also gonna receive a bonus, right? All right, moving on. Mana Geode, 2 mana 2/3. That's already good. It's a decently stated minion. Whenever this minion is healed, summon a 2/2 crystal. Yeah, I don't think this card is ridiculously overpowered. I think it's really solid. Any 2-drop that has a nice upside is really, really solid. So 2 mana 2/3 with a nice little upside, we will take it. It's one of those cards where you have to be a little bit careful with what you play into it. If you play a River Croc into this thing, they can play Northshire Cleric, hit your guy, heal the Geode, summon a 2/2, draw a card. They can get out of hand rather fast. But in the end, it's still 3 health. I guess the real terror of this thing is when its buddy, Cabal Talon Priest, lands on the Geode. I think then you're going to be in a world of hurt, because all the hero powers is going to give you a nice little tempo bonus. But anyways, that's for a little bit later. So yeah, should be a really nice card. Draconid Operative, 5 mana 5/6. Without anything else being said, that's a pit fighter. You're getting a pit fighter in a class bonus with an expansion bonus. That's already really good. But then it says, if you're holding a dragon, discover a card in your opponent's deck. And it's a dragon itself, so it helps out with the dragon team. That's pretty nasty. Yeah, so Priest is really in a good position this expansion, I feel. Because this card is just, I've recently recorded a video which talks about, you know, certain things you need to pick up if you're going to be good at Arena. And one of those is like having the vanilla test for minions, right? And this definitely passes the vanilla test. It's a 5 mana 5/6. If it has a good effect on top of that, that's a great card. So yeah, really, really, really good card. Greater Healing Potion. Restore 12 health to a friendly character. That seems awfully like specific, 12 health. Yeah, it's one of those things that is going to make it very hard to rush a priest down. I think this card shouldn't get drafted that much, but it's one of those cards which I'll take it because I can throw it on my minion that has 7 health and, trade it down to 1, bring it back up to 7 health. Shouldn't be defining or anything, but it's one of those cards that you should see here or there. I don't think it's like that great of a card. Pint-sized potion. Give all enemy minions -3 attack this turn only. Comparable to Commanding Shout, with the upside that your minions don't go into ping range, but the downside that you don't draw a card. So pretty good tempo swing card. It's probably worth it in the style that Priest plays anyway, because Priest should get value if it's on the board, and this card is pretty decent to keep you on the board, even if it's like on 2 minions. It should be fine. Cabal Song Stealer, 5 mana 5/5, a little less impressive on a vanilla test, but passable. Silence a minion. Hey, we've seen some pretty sick things that need to be silenced so far. We've seen the rat, which benefits from the attack power. We've seen all the cards that buff health or damage. So this card is actually going to be good because it's a spellbreaker without too big of a penalty. A 5 mana 5/5 is totally fine. And it's going to silence, it's going to hit almost every time, right? Because everyone is always buffing stuff in their hand. This just brings it right down. I assume it works that way, right? That you can still silence the extra stats off if it got buffed in your hand. All right, what else do we have here? Cabal Talon Priest, yeah. I think this is probably the most debated card, maybe with Potion of Madness. Welcome our Priest Overlords, yeah. So even without these cards, let's just be honest, right? Even without these cards, let's just look at this. If this were the cards that we revealed for Priest in general, Now, granted, this is an epic, granted, those are rares. You'd be like, man, Priest is gonna do well, you know? Silence, that is always gonna hit. Pint-sized's okay. Draconid Operative, very nice. Geode's an epic, but it's really nice. And then you go like, lol. These commons are so sick. They're so insane. Like, for people who don't know, like, just how insane these are. Like, this is, we're talking arena, right? We're talking arena, but this is so sick. Like, Dark Cultist is really, really good. And this has a battle cry on it, so it's much harder to play around it. It's much easier to just say, oh, you played a Dark Cultist and you have something on the board. I'm just going to kill the something you have, and then I'm going to kill your Dark Cultist, and you're not going to get the buff. This just means, oh, you didn't kill any of my guys at any point? Well, tough luck, motherfucker. You know, Temple Enforcer for 3 mana, and no stats penalty. If anything, a great distribution of stats. So yeah. It's going to be very rare that you'll skip any of these cards. Maybe if you already have 5 or 6 of them, you'll skip one, but unless your deck specifically needs like a Holy Nova or something, you're almost always going to pick this thing. This is... this thing is broken. It's so insanely broken. Oh my god. Alright. Potion of Madness. Gain control of an enemy minion with 2 or less attack until the end of turn. The funny thing is that Cabal Talon Priest is so good, and I'm not even sure whether Potion of Madness is better or not. I'm not even sure if this thing is going to be better or not. And that says a lot, right? I just said that this card is so insanely broken. This thing might even be better. Let's just analyze what a Holy Smite does. 1 mana, deal 2 damage to one of your opponent's minions. What does this shit do? 1 mana, steal one of your opponent's minions with 2 damage or less. Then you ram it into their minion. So you deal 2 damage to their minion, and you've killed a 2-drop. And that's putting it mildly, because a 2-drop is about the worst thing you're going to steal with this shit. You have 3-drops that have 2 damage. God forbid you can steal a Bloodhoof Brave and ram it into a Bullfist Ogre. You can steal the 2/8 Dragon, right? And you know you're probably going to want to damage it first, but that being said, it's just, yeah. It's going to be very, very, very annoying playing around this. Damn. At least, you know, the counter to it is you're gonna be buffing all your minions' attack, right? That's gonna be the important thing. You're going to be buffing all your minions. So Harvest Golem and Haunted Creeper will be very vulnerable to this thing. So if you can buff them up once, Haunted Creeper twice, they will not be susceptible to it anymore. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, this card really, really, really good, but in the current expansion, probably slightly less good than what we anticipated to be, just because everything's going to get buffed up. But that doesn't mean this card isn't insane, right? But it'll probably, funny enough, become better once the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan bonus falls off. So not everything will be buffed out of range. But it can be a dead card compared to Holy Smite. You can't kill any big stuff with it. I mean, it's Arena. There are going to be very few moments where your opponent doesn't have something you can steal, right? But yeah, obviously it can be a dead card. Fireball can be a dead card, right? If all your opponent's minions have 8 health. I'm just saying something here, right? It's not because it can be a dead card that it's not a good card. Alright, Rogue. Moving on. Shaku the Collector. Stealth. When this card attacks, add a random card from your to your hand from your opponent's class. Yeah, seems fine. I mean, it's not... I don't think this card is super busted. It's a Stealth River Croc that if it attacks, you gain a card. It usually won't be able to attack twice, unless you have like Conceal or you're good at controlling the board. I think this is something like a Cut Purse, where if your opponent can't answer it, it snowballs quite hard. So yeah, should be a decent card. I don't think it's going to be defining. I mean, it's not defining because it's a legendary. Right, moving on. Lotus Assassin. Stealth. Whenever this minion attacks and kills a minion, gains stealth. Seems really fucking good, doesn't it, guys? It's a Stranglethorn Tiger with a nice little bonus of re-stealthing itself after you kill a Yeti, so your opponent can't ping it off. seems to be quite an annoying card to play around. You essentially have to have AoE or you can't play anything it can free kill or this thing gets a lot of work down. Okay. I think people underestimate or underrate how Shaco is a win condition. Yeah, I mean, it is somewhat of a win con, but it's kind of hard to keep him alive and keep him going, right? He's got 3 health. But yeah, for sure. For sure. Lucky Doe Buccaneer, 6 mana, 5/5. If your weapon has at least 3 attack, gain +4/+4. Woohoo! So, sorry guys. So, wow. Wow. That's deadly poison, right? All you need is deadly poison to get a fight. Holy shit. All right, it's an epic, right? But holy shit. That's pretty, I mean, compared with the, not compared, but combined with the Lotus Assassin, this really helps out Rogue in the epic department. Because this is something that some people might not know or don't focus on, but Rogue has some seriously bad epics. Like some seriously bad epics. Like there's the Cogmaster's Wrench, there's the Nerubians, there's Poison Blade and stuff. So there are far too many times that you get a bad Rogue epic combined with like a bad neutral epic, and then you're really sad. Whereas normally epic packs should be like, yay, we got an epic. And Rogue is like, I got an epic Synth Cringe. I want to just get a nice common. So in a way, I think it's nice for Rogue that these cards are in the epic slot. But yeah, they're really strong. Really nice. All right, moving along here. Shadow Sensei, Battlecry, give a stealth minion +2/+2. So we've got the Shaku, but obviously that's a legendary. Is there anything else stealthy here? Ooh, Shadow Rager, okay, that's a stealth. Jade's Farmer is a stealth. All right, so because there's 2 things with a bonus on it, I think this card is totally playable. It's a rare, so obviously you won't see it that much, but it's totally playable. 4 mana, 4/4. I guess if you compare it to Houndmaster, it's better, but once again, Houndmaster is a lot easier to land. A Beast should be easier to get by than a stealth minion. But if you get things like Gilblood Stalkers and stuff in your deck, this card should be quite nice. It reminds me of a Crusher. Yeah, obviously, I mean, it is a Crusher, right? But nice. Like, I got an epic. Yeah, pretty much. Alright, Gadgetzan Ferryman. I've already seen this card. I've actually replied to a trolled tweet about it. Totally fine. I think this is the Brewmaster that we want. It's a 2 mana 2/3. And you can play it under your conditions. You can combo it if you want. You can not combo it if you don't want to pick up a minion back to your hand. The only thing that's kind of awkward is that it is 2 power and Potion of Madness will be everywhere. So this thing will need to get buffed up first. So I first have to see if there's a lot of neutral cards that do a lot of the buffing in the hand. If they're not, this thing might not be even that great. Just because of Priest, it's really sad. Alright, Counterfeit Coin. I don't think this will be great. It's a coin. You don't want to actually waste the card for a coin. Maybe in a deck that has an exceptional need for comboing, you can draft this, but overall I don't see this being that good in the arena. Shadow Rager. It's kind of cool that they stick with the Rager theme, right? The Magma Rager, the Ice Rager, etc. Now this has stealth, which means that AoE still hits it, but they can't target it, ping it. I think it's okay. It's a risky card, right? If they have Twilight Flamecaller, if they have a Bomber, if they have a Flame Juggler, if they have Ravaging Ghoul or whatever, you're gonna be very, very sad. You've just wasted 3 mana. But it has synergy with the Shadow Sensei, so maybe in a deck that has some Shadow Sensei or 2, it's fine. And overall, it's gonna be a card that you'll pick up here and there. I don't think it's gonna be premium, but it's going to be very annoying for certain opponents who just want to play a Yeti, but you played this thing. So now they have to play 2 2-drops. I think that's where its strength lies, is that your opponent can't play the 4-drop on curve. You're gonna have to respect the 5 damage, and then you're gonna have to split. Jade Shuriken, 2 mana, deal 2 damage, combo, summon a Jade Golem. This seems really good. This seems really fucking good. If you can get the oh, this also has Jade Golem mechanic on it. Nice. So quickly gonna scroll up to the Jade guys. Hello, Jade guys. So Jade Spirit, Battlecry, summon a Jade Golem, right? So if Jade Spirit is going to be Jade Spirit might become decent in Rogue if you have these other guys powering it up. The Jade Shuriken and the Jade Swarmer. But yeah, Jade Shuriken on its own seems really nice. 2 mana to deal 2 damage is a little underrated, but you've got the dagger helping you out. And comboable, you get a 1/1. At the very worst. A 2/2 and then a 3/3 and then a 4/4. Jade Swarmer, Stealth, Death Rattle, summon a Jade Golem. So you've got a 2 mana 1/1 Stealth, but it summons a 1/1 or a 2/2 or a 3/3 once again. Yeah, seems totally decent if you have other Jade cards assisting it. Comboable with the Shadow Sensei, and you know, you can throw Cold Blood on it or Dark Iron Dwarf, etc., etc. All right. Except Warrior, Hunter, and Paladin, the other classes are not able to buff their minions in hands, so Priest will be good against those classes. Ah, okay, P-Bird. I wasn't sure whether the buff out of hand mechanic was going to be something accessible in the commons or not, but okay. Good stuff, good stuff. So yeah, Priest, the Potion of Mana should still be very nice. Alright guys, Shaman. White Eyes is the legendary 5 mana 5/5 Death Rattle. So it's a taunt as well. So 5 mana 5/5 taunt is already totally playable. But the Storm Guardian is a 5 mana 10/10 taunt, I think. So you're going to be picking this card quite reasonably high. But once again, it's a legendary, so it's not that important for Arena. Lotus Illusionist. After this minion attacks a hero, transform it into a random 6-cost minion. Alright. Now 6-drops are quite random, right? You've got the Murloc that costs 6 mana. You'll probably also have that new guy, right? The 6 mana 1/1 that summons the ogre. But yeah, it should be fine overall. The overall result should still be better than 3/5. So it also doesn't even need to damage, it just needs to attack. So cool. Finders Keepers, 1 mana. Discover a card with Overload 1. Huh. I don't think I like this. So you pay 1 mana on one turn, 1 mana on the next turn to find a card that has Overload. I might be wrong about this, but I don't like it in Arena. No, it seems a little bit too awkward. Okay, next one. Jinyu Water Speaker. Battlecry, restore 6 health. Hello, are we going to be a priest now? What the fuck? Where does this come from? Where did it go like, oh, by the way, Shaman Priest. It's like Darkshire Alchemist, but better. Now obviously it has Overload 1, but a 3/6 on 4 is strong. And it's just going to be buffing, yeah, the fuck? Damn. That's pretty, I don't really know what they were thinking. Don't you use Finders Keepers like you use Raven Idol? Yeah, but Raven Idol doesn't overload you, right? Raven Idol doesn't overload you. All right, but yeah, Jinyu Water Speaker seems pretty broken. Holy shit! You just trade with your 4 and heal it up. Wow. All right, oops. Let's close that one down. Next one, Devolve. It's kind of the meme of the day, I heard. Transfer all enemy minions into random ones that cost 1 less. I think this card is going to be funny. It's obviously you pay 2 mana for it, but I mean, in Constructed, it'll be very annoying to, you know, if your Sylvanas gets devolved, they don't steal anything. In Arena, this card overall should just be frustrating, I feel. Frustrating for both you when he gets good shit, and frustrating for the opponent when he gets really bad stuff. I think the card is okay if you're quite nicely ahead on the board, but I don't think the card's going to be consistent enough to be good. I don't think it's that great. I might be wrong here. I'm going to be completely open to the fact that I'm wrong here, but it doesn't feel great. Just because you're throwing away a card, you're investing 2 mana, you need to get something good out of it, right? Jade Claws, 2 mana, 2/2. Battlecry, summon a Jade Golem, overload 1. Yeah, seems strong. It's Argent Lands without the Joust. Now you overload for 1, but you summon a 1/1, minimal. Seems strong. So, not much else to say. Jade Chieftain, 7 mana, 5/5. Battlecry, summon a Jade Golem, give it Taunt. So, a little bit like Obsidian, right? Where you summon a 1/1 with Taunt. Only in this case, the 1/1 is probably no longer going to be a 1/1 because it's already a 7 mana card. There's not too many cards that give you the Jade thing, right? Jade Lightning, deal 4 damage, summon a Jade Golem. Ooh, that seems nice. But you've got this guy, and then you've got the Jade 3 cards, or the Jade clan cards. All right. I mean, once again, guys, this is all just going to feel at how realistically it is that you're going to build the Jade Golem theme deck. Obviously, the more Jade Golem things you have, the better this thing becomes. Call in the finishers. Summon 4 1/1 Murlocs. I want to say that's not good, but I don't know. There are some things you can do. You can evolve. You can... Do the Murlocs have effects or not? It doesn't seem like they have effects. I think it's more a meme card. But yeah. In Shaman, you can Bloodlust, you can Mukla, all these things. So that's cool. Shady, I feel you are severely underrating the weapon by saying it seems strong. I don't think it's possible to severely underrate something when you say it seems strong. I think by nature, that means you think it's good, right? If I say it's like, oh, this card is kind of meh, I think your comment might be justified. I think it means that I think it's a good card. All right. Jade Lightning, 4 mana, deal 4 damage, summon a Jade Golem. Yeah, seems decent. You get to summon a 1/1 or a 2/2, 3/3, and deal 4 damage. So depending on how many Jade cards you have in your deck, it becomes better, obviously. But yeah, I think even without too many Jade cards, it's a decent card. All right, we're almost through the class cards, guys. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go over the other cards as well, because how long have we been at it? Maybe I'll split that up. Not that long, an hour. All right, Warlock, Cruel the Unshackled, 9 mana, 7/9, Battlecry. If your deck has no duplicates, summon all demons from your hand. Not too relevant for the arena, right? Cabal Trafficker, 6 mana, 6/6. At the end of your turn, add a random demon to your hand. Ooh, all right. That seems good. I mean, it's Crusher without the upside, but you add random demons to your hand, so yeah. Seems strong. Very nice. Unlicensed Apothecary, 3 mana, 5/5. Whenever you summon a minion, deal 5 damage to your hero. I love the title. I love the name of the minion. I can't wait to hear what he says when he attacks and gets summoned. This is gonna be a funny card. But yeah, it's a 3 mana 5/5. It turns everything else into a Pit Lord, but without the stat buff. So I don't think it's that insane, but you know, this is gonna get you ahead on the board. Depending on how many healing options you have. No healing. Well, maybe. I don't know. It seems a little bit too harsh, the downside. If you can silence this, that seems nice. Alright, next one. Fellfire Potion, 6 mana, deal 5 damage to all characters. I don't know where that suddenly came from. So, yeah. Shadow Flame, but without having to put a minion on the board. Oh, it does deal damage to characters, also the face. Wow. Wow, okay. Something you're gonna have to respect. Yeah. Definitely gonna have to respect this card. Yeah, I hadn't noticed that it went face straight away. It was like all characters, like, ooh, okay, goes face. Nice. Some nice reach. Sea Devil Stinger. Ooh, a Warlock Murloc. Is that a first? I think that's a first, right? Alright. Battle Cry. The next Murloc you play this turn costs health instead of mana. Is there any Murlocs? Any other Murlocs? No. I don't think it's too good in Arena then. I mean, you're playing a 4/2 for 4, so I think it's more a meme card. Blood Fury Potion seems me. I don't really know how to say it. I mean, Valens is great, but Valens is 4 health and is not conditional. Now, granted, Warlock is more likely to have something on the board. Do we have some cheap demons this set? Throw it on this guy, but we don't want to keep him alive. No demon. That's an expensive demon. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Demon Fire. If you have cards, if you have the early game demons in your deck, this card is going to be decent, right? If you have a Voidwalker in your deck, if you have Flame Imp, if you have Malkazar's Imp, this card should be fine. Otherwise, I don't think you should pick it. It's a little bit too conditional. Now, another meta-defining card, Abyssal Enforcer. Battle Cry, deal 3 damage to all our characters. Holy shit! It's a lot of AoE we got here. A lot of AoE this set. 5 damage to all characters here, 3 damage to all characters here. All other characters, which is important, doesn't hit itself. Whew. Nice. Shady, don't you see the potential between Unlicensed Apothecary and Violent Illusionist? You're right, that is quite a nice combo. Alrighty. Cool. Alright, I mean, this card is nuts, right? 7 mana 6/6 is acceptable. And then, you see the effect, it's just, ooh, nice. It's like the good old thing where you can either AoE or develop, and now you do both, right? We always say clearing your opponent's board isn't that great if you can't develop something of your own, because then he's just going to grab the board again and kill you. This card does both. It says, I'm going to kill all your shit, and I'm going to put a 6/6 on the table. So yeah, very, very annoying. Something you're going to have to absolutely respect. There's no way around it. It's a good card. It's a late game card, which means it's going to be more likely they've drawn it by the time they can play it, and it's got a class and set bonus on it, so it's going to be very common. So this is absolutely a card you're going to have to respect. It's like Fireland's Portal, not necessarily in power level, but it is Fireland's Portal in terms of it is turn 7. I now have to play around Abyssal Enforcer because the chance that I'm going to get hit by it if I play into it is really high. So keep that in mind. Playing against Warlocks means playing around Abyssal Enforcer this expansion. Blast Crystal Potion. Destroy a minion and one of your mana crystals. I think that's acceptable. Because that's sometimes all Warlock needs, right? Being able to remove one of your opponent's minions without having to pay an arm and a leg for it to do it. So I suppose this is just an arm. Throwing away a mana crystal. But it's a little bit later as well, right? You can do this turn 6, play a 2-drop and then destroy one of their guys. Next turn have 6 mana again. That's not really that bad. You probably don't want to do it on curve because that's a little bit too early to de-ramp yourself. But overall, this card should be fine. Don't let the mana destruction make it too unappealing for you. Just have a little bit more discipline with the card and use it later on, and it should be fine. Should totally be fine. Crystal Weaver, Battlecry, give your demons +1/+1. That's not in your hand, that's just on the board, I assume, because it doesn't specify. So yeah, seems really strong. It's got decent stats for the curve. It's a tall strider, but it also does something nice. So if this lands on one demon, you're pretty happy, and it lands on all demons, I suppose. So very nice, very nice. How many do we have after this? Just the neutrals? Okay. All right, Warrior. Grapple Hammer, 2-mana 2/2, Battlecry, give all weapons in your hand and deck +1 attack. I mean, it seems quite nice. It's not really that big of a punish. It's a 2-mana 2/2, so it's just a very nice upside. Once again, it's a legendary, so not really a defining card for Arena, but should be a nice pickup whenever you can get it. Brass Knuckles, after your hero attacks, give a random minion in your hand +1/+1. So we're paying 4 mana for a Stormforged Axe, which we can't play on turn 2 like a Stormforged Axe. Obviously the effect is nice, right? You get to give your random, you get to buff up your minions. It's one of those cards which you can pick, but it's got a very specific slot in your deck. This is one of the cards that you draft when your deck is like, I'm gonna win the early game, I just need to kind of do stuff with my mana, right? We've all been here, right? We've drafted a deck and be like, I'm gonna run out of mana. Like, I've got tons of stuff, like I've got Inner Rage to grab the board, I've got Cleaves, I've got Heroic Strikes, and I'm just gonna power through and get the board. But then I'm kinda lost, I can't do anything anymore. For that kind of slot, it's fine. It's totally fine. It's not a card you're probably gonna want to play on curve. Sometimes, right? They have a 4/2 on the board, you're like, I guess I'll equip it and kill this guy. It's fine. So should be decent. Not something that you should always pick, but in certain decks, totally decent. All right. Sleep with the Fishes. I love the names. Deal 3 damage to all damaged minions. Ooh. Okay then. All right. So nice. I think it's going to be a good card. It's going to be huge terror with Ravaging Ghoul. In general, just hit your opponent's minion, then deal 2 damage, deal 3 damage for 2 mana. That seems really nice. Really nice. All right. Ali Armorsmith, 5 mana, 2/7 taunt. Whenever this minion deals damage, gain that much armor. So for 5 mana, you usually get a 5/5, a 4/6, or a 5/6. We're talking taunt, so let's compare it to Fen Creeper, right? Fen Creeper is a kind of a bad card, but it's slightly acceptable, right? So the Fen Creeper body is a 3/6. This is a 2/7. But you gain armor when it deals damage, and dealing damage is combat, right? So even if it deals damage back to something else. Yeah, seems good. I don't think it's a bad card. All right, guys, I'm gonna take a quick break and quickly go into the bathroom. I'll power through and I'll review the comments as well. But I'll need a small break and quickly go to the bathroom. So it's gonna be a nice long highlight. All right, quick beer back, guys. back. Let's do it. Catch up with the chat for a sec. Should have a physical sign every time I go for a break. Alright. Warrior is a grimy goon, so all the awkward stat lines like 2-7 become better with hand buffing. Yes, that's something I was about to get to. I think, as most people do when they contemplate when they're on the toilet, what do I think about this card? It's actually quite a sick card if you think about it, right? So you don't have to look at this card in a vacuum, right? Now we're gonna take things like Obsidian Destroyer and just some nice warrior late game cards and just the whole warrior value mechanic. Warrior gets value by using their life total and hitting things with their face. So the nice thing about Ally Armorsmith is if you can only land +1/+1 on it, it goes up to a 3/8. If your opponent attacks to kill it, that's usually with 2-3 different sources of damage. That means this thing not only tanked at least 7-8 damage, maybe even 9, it also sorry guys, it also gains you a bunch of life because it deals 3 damage to everything, right? So you gain life from the fact that it taunts out damage, and you gain life from the fact that it deals damage while taunting, right? Rather play a buffed Allied Armorsmith or a buffed Gurubashi, sorry, not Gurubashi, Armorsmith, because it has taunt and it heals you, right? All right, next one. Grime Street Pawnbroker. Battlecry, give a random weapon in your hand +1/+1. Seems strong. It's a 3-mana 3/3, which is fine. It's not great, but it's fine. The upside is significant. So if you land this with a weapon in your hand, especially something like a Dead Spite, something like an Arcanite Reaper, something that is really, really nice when it gets more charges. Dead Spite's a little bit awkward because you want the Death Rattle, but you'll still take an Arcanite Reaper for 4, 3 weapon swings. Especially the fact that it buffs the durability is really nice. So obviously it's a rare, you can't spam it, but should be a good pickup. Stolen Goods. Give a random taunt minion in your hand +3/+3. So with Armorsmith, quite nice. In general, also should be okay. It's kind of hard. Obviously, it's taunt restricted, but you have the Public Defender, you have the Armor Dude. You can discover a taunt minion, but I know a guy. I love the title. I love the names. Love the names. All right. Grimy Gadgeteer. At the end of your turn, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. So you pay for a 3-drop. 4 mana for a 3-drop. But once again, it kicks in immediately because it's at the end of your turn. You don't have to wait until the turn passes. And it gives a card +2/+2. I like this thing more than I would like Stolen Goods. As with most things, it's better to buff things while you put out a body at the same time. We saw this with Hunter as well. We had the Secret that gave +2/+2, and then we had the Minion that gave +2/+2. So obviously the Hunter Minion, in my opinion, was a little bit better because it was a 3-mana 3/3 rather than a 4-mana 4/3. But yeah, overall it's all good. One second, guys. Some technical difficulties. Yeah, for some reason Battle.net is down for a lot of people, so we'll check whether it's down for us as well after I'm done reviewing. Alright, moving along. Yeah, Public Defender seems kind of a weird guy, but if you hit it with a +2/+2, this thing is stunningly insane, right? You've got a 2-mana 2/9 taunt. It's like, yeah, have fun cracking through that, buddy. It's pretty much a Death Lord without a downside, so it's pretty sick. And then I know a guy should be a good card. Discover a taunt minion. Should probably get you Sunwalker. You know, can it Can I discover? It should just be warrior and neutral, right? So Bloodhoof Brave, in general, big taunty minions, hecklers and stuff. Should be an okay pickup if the other cards aren't that great. All right, let me see if we can expand this window a bit, make it a bit easier to get multiple cards at the same time. Oh, too far. Yeah, everything is in the same. Everything's in the picture here. Discover a Belcher would be PogChamp, yes. All right, the neutral cards. Mayor Noggenfogger, 9 mana, 5/4. All targets are chosen randomly. Okay. So does that include minion combat? I don't know. I'm not gonna waste too much time on the legendaries. It seems a little bit too memey for arena. All right, Madame Goya. Battlecry, choose a friendly minion. Swap it with a minion in your deck. Yeah, seems good, right? You can. Well, it's a 4/3 for 6. I haven't looked at the stat distribution. I don't think I like it that much then in arena because a lot of your cards are going to be 2-mana cards and stuff. So you're potentially playing a huge cost for something that doesn't do anything. But it can swap a totem out, but then you have a totem in your deck, and it's fine. All right, moving on. Like I said, I'm not going to waste too much time on the legendaries. Rathian, 6 mana, 4/5. So 6 mana for Yeti, Taunt, Battlecry, draw cards until you've drawn one that isn't a dragon. Okay. So usually Yeti, draw cards, but it's got Taunt. Yeah, that seems fine. I think it's one of those legendaries that you'll pick up. When your other options aren't that great. You'll be like, at least it's Taunt. I'll draw a card. That's fine. Right. Finya, the Flying Star. Stealth. Whenever this minion attacks and kills a minion, summon 2 Murlocs from your deck. That's not an arena card, right? Genzo the Shark. 4 mana, 5/4. Whenever this attacks, both players draw until they have 3 cards. Now this seems like a lot of fun against mages. Once again, it's going to be a card you pick when the other options aren't that great, right? Because it's legendary, but it seems like a lot of fun against mage. Sergeant Sally, Death Rattle. Deal damage equal to this minion's attack to all minions. Oh, okay. Once again, legendary, so it seems cool, but then you remind yourself that there's some quality legendaries out there. So, Auction Master Beardo. that's just straight up a Goblin Pimp. I love it. After you cast a spell, refresh your hero power. But your hero power still costs mana, right? So probably one of those things in combination with the Priest legendary where your hero power is free and then you shadow form and you pew, 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 pew. Seems quite funny, but I mean it's a 3 mana 3/4. Once again, you'll pick it if there's nothing better because it's fine. But out of legendaries, you usually want something better. Patches the Pirates. Doesn't seem like an arena deck card either. Wind up Burglebot. Epic. Here we go. We're off from the legendaries. Whenever this attacks a minion and survives, draw a card. Seems a little bit too conditional, right? 6 mana 5/5. Mediocre-ish effect. Defias Cleaner is 6 mana 5/7. Silence a minion with Death Rattle. It's definitely playable. It's got 7 health. Yeah, I think it's a fine card. It probably hits a fair amount of the time. Death Rattles are decent, so even if it doesn't hit, it's got 7 health. 7 health, 5 damage, yeah. I like it. 6 mana 4/4, Battlecry. If you control a minion with 6 or more health, draw 2 cards. Ooh. Alright. A little bit techie, but with all the... Probably a decent card to pick in the decks where you're going to be buffing stats, right? Nice. Alright. Seems like a decent card in certain decks. Leather-clad Hog Leader, 6 mana, 6/6 Battlecry. If your opponent has 6 or more cards in a hand, gain charge. Alright, turn 6, 6 or more cards in a hand. It seems like a playable card, right? It's a 6 mana, 6/6. You'll pick it a fair amount of the time. And if it works, it's great. It's usually not going to work, but against certain mages, it's probably fine. Shady Fight Promoter procs on itself if you buff it. Oh, okay, okay. All right, that changes the card a little bit. I think it's good then. I think it's really good in the decks where you can self buff. So a grimy goon, right? So good for the grimy goon decks. All right, moving on. Burgly Bully. Burgly Bully. All right. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, add a coin to your hand. 5 mana, 4/6. I like it. I think there's nothing wrong with a 5 mana, 4/6, and as an upside, it's a good card in Arena. Fel Orc Soul Fiend. Yeah, this is one of those really, really weird cards which you're gonna have to play to really figure out. I'm gonna default to Grinning Goat, who said that it's like whatever. It's like not crazy, just because it will deal 2 damage to your guy by default. If you can silence it immediately, it's fine. But like on curve, it's gonna seem really imposing, and then it's like, well, it's gonna deal 2 damage to itself, and then it's probably only gonna kill one guy, right? But yeah, it's cool. Blubber Baron. Whenever you summon a Battlecry minion while this is in your hand, gain +1/+1. Ah. Seems like a fun card for the Paladin with all those buff things going around. Once again, a card that will be decent in the decks that are focusing on AoE buffing everything. I don't think so much in the other tribes, but should be a good grimy goon card. Alright, Dirty Rat. I think there was a lot of controversy in this thing, about this thing before the expansion even got fully released. I don't think this card is good. It's a 2 mana 2/6 taunt, but it summons a random minion from your opponent's hand, which obviously completely gives them a lot of tempo, so that's not so good. Weasel Tunneler, 1 mana 1/1, Death Rattle, shuffle this minion into your opponent's deck. I just love the whole concept and the look on him. Look at him, he's like, I'm gonna fuck up your draws. It's pretty... Alright, I think it's more of a meme card, right? Yeah, it's maybe for Constructed to fuck up your opponent's draws, but yeah, that's fine. Not good? Wait until you get a Dirty Rat out of a Shredder. Yeah. Obviously, Dirty Rat from Shredder is gonna be the new meme, right? It's like Millhouse? Lol, not even a Dirty Rat. Alright. Second Rate Bruiser, 5 mana 4/5 taunt. That's already playable, right? A 5 mana 4/5 taunt. It's not great, but it's playable. Costs 2 less if your opponent has at least 3 minions. So this is going to be punishing the quite aggressive start. So this is one of those cards that's going to be totally fine in a slower deck. Or actually good in a slower deck and totally okay in other decks. The stats aren't amazing for 5 mana, but it has taunt on it. So it's kind of like a better booty bay, and sometimes it's insane. So should be a very decent card in Arena. Spiked Hog Rider, Battlecry. If an enemy minion has taunt, gain charge. Seems like a decent card once again. 5 mana 5/5, sometimes charge. A lot of taunts going around here. Seems like a very nice counter. It's pretty funny that they're next to each other. Got a 4/5 taunt and a 5/5 charge. Nice. Alright. Doppelgangster, Battlecry. Summon 2 copies of this minion. So it's a 5 mana, pretty much wobbling runs, but without the initial body. So you immediately get your tokens. So it's Force of Nature. I mean, in certain decks, okay, right? In certain decks where 2 copies of this minion, does that mean that if it's a 4/4 in your hand and you play it, you'll get 4/4s? Or do you get 2/2s? If you get 4/4s from it, that's sick and Grimy Goon. I assume that you'll still get 2/2s. Alright, moving on. Bomb Squad. 5 mana 2/2 Battle Cry, deal 5 damage to an enemy minion. Death Rattle, deal 5 damage to your hero. You get 3 4/4s? Holy shit! Alright. Cool. So once again, I seem to be saying this a lot, like kind of a underrated, like kind of a bad card, but in Grimy Goons it's really nice. Oh wow. Okay. So if you can get 1 buff on it, it's technically worth it, right? Nice. 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 Alright, so Grimy Goons, quite good. Bomb Squad seems kind of funny. I think the card is decent. It's kind of a weird thing, right? But dealing 5 damage to an enemy minion, it can't go face. If it could go face, I think the card, well, it's too good if it goes face, right? It's too good. I'm kind of undecided here. Kind of undecided. I'll need to play with it to see just how bad the 5 damage drawback is. Right, next one. Backroom Bouncer. 4 mana 4/4. Whenever a friendly minion dies, gain +1 attack. Yep, totally acceptable card. Once again, if you can get an initial buff on it, it's obviously a lot better. But it's a nice card to compare to Flesh Eating Ghoul. And Flesh Eating Ghoul gets, I feel, a bigger stat penalty than this guy. And obviously, Flesh Eating Ghoul only benefits. Flesh Eating Ghoul benefits from everyone dying. Backroom Bouncer benefits from just your guys dying. But you should be able to play it and then trade in one of your guys, and then you have a 5/4. I don't think it's a super powerful card, but it's once again an okay card. Small Time Buccaneer is a 1 mana 1/2. Has +2 attack while you have a weapon equipped. Holy shit! Alright, that's a nice real card. We'll take it. So it's pretty much a Bloodfen Raptor if you dagger on 2. You've just played Bloodfen Raptor on 1. Lol. Alright. What do we have here? Bouncer doesn't say while in your hand, so does it buff in your deck too? No. This buff's on the board. Like, it has to be on the board, right? Alright, let's go. Big Time Racketeer, 6 mana 1/1, summon a 6/6 ogre. This is gonna be pretty nice to evolve. Pretty good with evolve, pretty good to play around Mirror Entity. It's a lot of nice little things you can do with this guy. Overall, I think this should be a pretty common card to see. Making a 6/6 and a 1/1 for 6 is very solid. So with all the little nifty upsides you can have, it should be a good card. Ancient of Blossoms, 6 mana, 3/8 taunt. Not very happy to see this. That's a reasonable blocker. Holy shit. It's like they're making Bog Creeper cheaper and cheaper. Now, I get that this doesn't have 6 damage, but like, bro, come on. 8 health taunt. Iron Bark used to be 8 mana, right? Now we get the 8 health taunts on turn 6. What the fuck? I'm gonna have to like scroll back to Hunter and look at it. Blizzard not smart, yeah. Alright, so this is one of those cards I think that's gonna be quite decent. A lot of people will probably look past this card and be like, 3 damage for 6, that's not enough. But 8 health and taunt. That's gonna be such a good card to stabilize. Like these guys could totally give you the permission to draft a lot greedier than you could. Obviously, you know, if your opponent has 4 health, excuse me, if your opponent has minions with 4 health, they can obviously trade into it. So it's nowhere near Bog Creeper status, but this is one of those minions that you don't want a ton of these in your deck, but it's like such a powerful tech card. It's like Sunwalker, right? Where sometimes you drop Sunwalker and it just destroys everything your opponent has. This gives you the lovely memes in the chat. So this I don't think this thing is as good as a Sunwalker, but you're talking about a common with an expansion bonus on it. Imagine if Sunwalker was a common with an expansion bonus on it. Holy shit, you know, that really stirs up the meta. So yeah, I think this is closer to a Sunwalker when you're talking about not playing it into a big minion. Sunwalker obviously has an advantage that the Divine Shield really helps out against the big minion. So, all right, let's scroll down. Grook Fu Master, 5 mana 3/5 Wind Fury. All right, that's shit. Maybe with the Grimy Goons, but overall you shouldn't need too much buffing to make a card viable, right? So, moving on. Streetwise Investigator, 5 mana 4/6. Stats are okay. Battlecry, enemy minions lose stealth. Not too relevant, but the stats are okay, so decent. Red Mana Worm, 5 mana 2/6. Whenever you cast a spell, gain 2 attack. So 1 spell is necessary to get it on curve, or get it on the curve where it should be, right? I mean, some games you'll get memed by it, but overall I don't think this card is that good. Obviously you'll draft an index where you have tons of spells, and then maybe turn 6 you'll play this and a 1 mana spell or something. Worgen Greaser, 4 mana 6/3. Probably has its use here or there. It really feels like a salty dog, like high damage, low health, but seems to just die a little bit too easy, right? I don't think it's going to be that great. I could be wrong, but I don't feel like it's going to be that great, especially not with this guy being a thing, right? It's like, fuck. Hard countered, boys. Well, then again, being able to deal 6 damage to it probably isn't that terrible. Right, the next one. 4 mana 2/6, so the stats are kind of okay. Battlecry, restore a minion to full health. Hey, that's pretty decent, right? Yep, should be better than Maiden of the Lake, I feel. And Maiden of the Lake is a playable card. And this thing, I guess the options for this thing are, it's actually the more I think about it, the better this thing becomes, right? Because in Priest, this thing is going to be nuts if you have your Cabal guy hitting early on, or yeah, the Talon Priest, if you have this thing backing up the healthy guy. If you have any of the Grimy Goon dudes buffing this up, so you get a 3/7 for 4. It's really nice. That's really nice, actually. Okay, so I think the card's quite strong. Needs a little bit of a setup, but if it hits, it's really nice. Cookie Chemist, Crazed Alchemist for 4 mana 4/4. Yeah, Crazed Alch is fine. I don't think this is better than Crazed Alch, but I think it's playable. 4 mana 4/4s aren't great, but the effect will sometimes be good enough. Daring Reporter, whenever your opponent draws a card, gain +1/+1. So it's a 4 mana 4/4 with upside. Certain boards it's probably fine, right? If you play this and then kill their loot hoarder, you've played a 4 mana 5/5. If you can play this unanswered, like it's a really nice snowball card. If you can play it unanswered, it'll become a 4 mana 5/5 the next time they can interact with it. So in certain board states, it has its use. Naga Corsair, 4 mana 5/4, give your weapon +1 attack. Nice. Nothing wrong with this card. You really see this recurring theme when I evaluate card. It's just like, all right, what do we have here? 4 mana 5/4, stats check out, weapon useful, nice. Okay. Tanaris Hawk Chopper, 4 mana 4/4, Battlecry. If your opponent's hand is empty, gain charge. Yeah, I mean, top decking in the late game, sure, but I don't know. I can't quite decide. Maybe. I guess in the late game it's fine. But it's a little bit. It takes quite a while until it could potentially gain charge. Missed the pirate tag. It's a pirate, sure. Backstreet Leper, 3 mana. He's back. Alright. Obviously, it would be much nicer if we had a 1 mana 2/1 Death Rattle deal to damage the enemy hero. I don't think this guy's good enough, unfortunately. Minions that deal damage to the face are nice, but this guy's a little bit too pricey. Seems like they really learned from the Leper Gnome thing, and they're like, let's make it not even a 2 mana 3/1, right? Just a 3 mana 3/1. I love how they could have made this a 2 mana 3/1 and it would be okay. Alright. Hired Gun, 3 mana 4/3 taunt. Excellent, nothing wrong with that. Probably nice in Warrior, lots of taunt synergy, and this card is totally playable on its own. Toxic Sewer Ooze, 3 mana 4/3, Battle Cry, remove 1 durability from your opponent's weapon. Once again, totally fine card. It's got a kind of an awkward effect on it. It's not always going to hit, but if it hits, it's useful, and the stats on the card are good. Street Trickster, 3 mana, 0/7 demon, spell damage +1. Once again, a card that probably has a lot more potential when it's paired with Grimy Goons, just because it has a lot of health. If you can buff this thing twice, you're looking at a 2/9 with spell damage for 3, but I don't know. Seems like a little bit more of a combo card than an arena card. Blowgill Sniper, 2 mana 2/1, Battle Cry, deal 1 damage. I like Elven Archer more. I don't think this card's good enough. I think it's one of those fine cards, but I don't think it's good enough. Gets pinged off. Well, sometimes, right? Playing it into their 2/1, it's probably good enough, but I think I'd rather just have the Elven Archer for... flexibility. Think about the Demon Potion synergy with the 0/7 Demon. Ooh, that's right. The Demon Potion with this thing could be nice. But once again, then you're talking specific combos, right? But will Blowgill Sniper be better than Ironforge Rifleman? Yeah, that I think so, yeah. But Ironforge Rifleman isn't exactly a lot of competition. Gadgetzan Socialite? Yeah. 2 mana 2/2, Battlecry, restore 2 health. I think we have a theme going on here, right? They look at Elven Archer, they look at Voodoo Doctor, and like, these guys are kind of okay. Let's just make a worse version of them. Yeah, I'd rather run a Voodoo Doctor, so. Let's go on. Friendly Bartender, 2 mana 2/3, nothing wrong with that. At the end of your turn, restore 1 health to your hero. Yeah, a little bit of an upside on a River Croc. We'll take that. Mistress of Mixtures. Death Rattle, restore 4 health to both players. 1 mana 2/2. Nice. So essentially a Raven. A Raven for both guys. A Raven that restores health to both guys. Huh. This is kind of awkward, right? I talked about this earlier where this thing is going to incentivize 2/3s. But then you've got Potion of Madness, which really is going to promote 3/2s. So it's kind of like you draft 3/2s to play around Potion of Madness, and then you get punished by Mixture of Mixtures, or Mistress of Mixtures. All right, so overall, what do we see? What do we see in this expansion? I think we see a general trend of trying to slow the game down a little bit, at least when we're talking arena-wise, right? That's it. So arena-wise, we're talking about slowing the game down a little bit. We see a big taunt here. We see a lot of these fun gimmicky things, restoring health to face, restoring health to minions, buffing up. We see a lot of the potential long-term strategies. Gain +1/+1 every time your opponent draws a card. See the spell damage here. Then in the fun thing I think about this expansion is that they're really giving classes, or the Grimy Goons, the Jade guys, and the Cabals, they're giving them their own identity. So I think that's really fun. So what's the warrior theme? The warrior theme is rewarding yourself for having taunt minions and ally armor smith, which is pretty sick when you get to buff it. Then we got warlocks, who got 2 huge AoEs and a decent 4-drop, a nice hard removal. So warlock overall just became much more solid, and it's going to be a lot harder to rush them down, right? Abyssal Enforcer is going to punish spreading super hard. You're going to have to trade more. Fire Potion is going to punish spreading super hard. And for Shaman, really, I feel like all the Jade guys are a little bit around the same thing. Obviously, you have a little bit. So you have Druid, Rogues, and Shaman, who are all revolving a little bit around the same thing. They want to get the Jade Golems out. So same here, we see the Jade Golem mechanics, 2 commons and a rare. Oop, let's go a bit up. Water Speaker, I feel, is completely out of place. This card is just randomly good. Just like, not really in theme with the expansion, not really in theme with Shaman, but fuck it. We'll just give him a healer. This can go face as well, right? Yeah, so this can heal face as well. Another thing that potentially slows down the game. Rogue, once again, the Jade mechanic thing. You just want to get Jade Golems. A little bit of stealth synergy, but not too much. 2 really, really solid epics, as we talked about. Priest is going to be nuts. Absolutely, he's going to destroy people in terms of tempo. Funny enough, we might even see a thing where people are trying to defend against Priests, right? Just let that sink in. We might have an expansion where people are going to be like, man, if I can hold this Priest off for another couple turns, I can maybe win. Because they're just going to grab the board and they're not going to stop. But I think it's just going to be too overwhelming. You've got the Potion of Madness doing so much work. They've got a Silence now, which isn't punished for stats. They've got a really nice rare here. Overall, Priest still generates a lot of value. Anything sticks around. They get a Power Tentacles, they get a Valence, all these things. Oh man, it's so insane because it's going to be so good on the attacking side, and it's going to be so good backing that up with value. So I think people are going to be, if you're good at pressing your advantage, I think Priest is going to be sick. So I think Priest overall should be strong, but I think that a more aggressive player like me is going to perform really well with Priest. It's really nasty. So we're going to be playing some Priest. All right, Paladin. So Paladin, I feel, has its own identity with just swarming and buffing. It's like drafting lots of low-cost cards, buffing all of them, recycling your Grime Street Outfitter. Things that allow cards to go back to your hand are going to be nice. Yeah, overall, Grime Street Protector. Grime Street Protector, huge card. Card you're going to have to play around quite a bit. Mage, solid. It's kind of sad to say it, but solid pool. Not too crazy, but not bad, which is unfortunate. Potion of Polymorph, decent. Cryomancer, unnecessarily frustrating, I feel. Cabal Lackey, sure, no value. Freezing Potion, sure, no value, but decent tempo cards. Volcanic Potion, don't know why these cards exist. AoE damage. Then you've got a reasonable card here. You've got a good tempo card here. It's no Firelands Portal, but still. Mage is in a little bit too good of a position for them to get a reasonable pool like this. Alright, Hunter, it's gonna be fun, I feel. Lots of buffing of your stuff and then overwhelming your opponent with overstated minions. It's gonna be very fun. And then Druid, once again, focuses more on the Jade mechanic. and then more in an aggro fashion than the others. Just spread out, get your stuff, get your Jade Golems, buff up everything with Mark of Lotus. Yeah, maybe a little bit of beast synergy here with the Sensei. And that's it, guys. That's the Gadgetzan card review. We took our time. I think we got a nice chunk in. So